Respected CA Chandrasekhar Ji Chitre sir, Chairman, Internal Audit Standards Board of ICI, our eminent speaker for today, CA Deepika ma'am, and our dear professional colleagues. It gives immense pleasure to honor welcome you all to this live webinar on AI-driven internal auditing, organized by Internal Audit Standards Boards of ICI. In today's dynamic business environment, artificial intelligence is no longer just a futuristic concept. It is become an integral part of how organizations are reimagining governance, risk management, and assurance. As a chartered accountants, we play a vital role in upholding trust, transparency, and accountability. This webinar is a step forward in equipping ourselves with the knowledge and tools to harness AI in internal audit. With this, I request Chandrasekhar Chitre sir to kindly give his introductory remarks to the session.
Thank you, brilliant speaker, for this webinar, Deepika ji, the moderator, Chetan Nogja ji, our team in office, and all of you members who are witnessing this particular webinar. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome you one and all. In today's world, if you think of anything, the first thing you ask is, "Usme AI ne kya kiya hai?" In fact, I was in one of the seminars organized by Career Counseling, and I was asked how the field of chartered accountancy is going to be impacted by AI. My response was, which field is not going to be impacted by AI? You are asking about chartered accountancy, but what about management practice? What about engineering? What about law? What about medical practice? Everything is going to be impacted by artificial intelligence, excepting आपका खाना आपको खाना है और आपका पानी आपको पीना है. Baki everything AI is supporting you, AI will assist you. Internal audit is no exception. Even in accounting, we have seen that number of things which are repetitive in nature are taken over by artificial intelligence, by various programs. And even if you train the artificial intelligence, it will also pass entries for finalization and those things in days to come. And I mean days to come, not months or years to come. Because daily we are thinking that something is happening, some development is taking place in artificial intelligence. Institute is also making robust foray in this particular field of artificial intelligence. We are the first institute training members and students in AI, and the numbers we have trained outsmart any other organization doing this particular thing. Now, when we talk of automation, artificial intelligence, the institute has also not left behind. We are also using by abundant measure AI. Let me inform you that maybe our examination papers, not only foundation which are objective type, but even subjective type for intermediate, for final, they are also verified by AI. Earlier, I was under impression, number of my friends whom I discussed were under impression, professional ones, that if the answer is yes, no type, true, false type, then only the computer would be able to understand it and recognize whether it is appropriate, inappropriate. But it is not so. Even your descriptive answers are being checked by AI and marks are awarded. And it is our experience that rather than physical verification, the machine verification is doing good job. They are also pointing out certain limitations in human verification. So AI is being used by ICI as well. In fact, let me tell you, then when I qualified, after the results, after I applied for the purpose of membership, maybe after a couple of months by post, I received one parcel containing certificate of practice and the membership certificate. But today, if the result is declared on 13th of January, it is declared at 11 o'clock. And by 5 o'clock in the evening, we already have 3-4 thousand members registered. So those who apply on the date of result, immediately by the evening, they are enrolled as a member. We don't ask for mark sheet, or we don't ask for date of birth or anything else, because all the data we have, the AI pulls the data in respect of the applicant from ICI's own directory and applies it, and he's awarded membership. So that simple it has been. Coming to internal audit, there are various aspects of internal audit which you might have thought of, but the speaker will unfold various other aspects relating to internal audit which are emanable of AI. Of course, when we say that these functions can be done by artificial intelligence, it is not prerogative of the AI. It is not that only AI can do it, you also can do it. But if you will take 10 hours to do it, maybe AI will do it in 10 minutes. So the way forward for chartered accountants is to understand these AI processes, the AI tools, and harness them. The difference between you doing internal audit with the help of AI and others doing without its help, maybe if both of you estimate fees, one who is not doing without AI may estimate maybe say 100 hours for doing a particular job. You using AI can do the same job in 10 hours, and you would be much more competitive and much more sought after. So today, understanding and embracing AI in any field has not become an option, it has become a mandate. And therefore, we thought it appropriate that the expert in the field, like Deepika, should come and tell us how we can use this AI in our internal audit process, so that the internal audit process is automated, it becomes more accurate, and it becomes least time consuming in adoption of this AI. So, friends, at the end of this AI session, you will certainly have different insights into this AI using it in internal audit, and that will help you practically in your practice if you are in industry, maybe in your service, because various things have come. Now, just to cite an example, if you are doing stock taking and if you have 5 locations for the purpose of doing stock taking, it is not necessary that you or your team visits all those 5 locations. There are tools which, if you employ at all those 5 locations, sitting in your head office or wherever you are, you can visibly see, count those stock items and use them in internal audit. So there are various other processes, and it is at most necessary that maybe you have to understand it. Maybe in 2 hours, it may not be possible that to cover each and every facet, but maybe at the end, if you feel that okay, more information is required, more insights are required into something, maybe you can post in chat box, you can inform us, so that we can have a full day seminar on this particular topic, so that every facet of AI in internal audit is covered. I thank Deepika for agreeing to share her expertise with our members, and I'm sure with your elucidation of the topic, we will certainly draw home more inputs and more value add. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your inspiring words and enlightening the importance of AI and effect of AI in our day-to-day operations as well as in an internal audit. Now, move forward. I briefly cover the flow of today's session. Today's webinar is designed to provide the deep insight on the role of artificial intelligence in revolutionizing the internal audit practices, processes, practical challenges, opportunities, and the roadmap ahead. It is my privilege to introduce our eminent speaker, CA Deepika ji, an expert in internal audit and emerging technologies. She is a fellow chartered accountant with multiple professional credentials, including DISA, CISA, post graduation in business analytics and business intelligence, certified certified credit research analyst, and limited insolvency examinations. CA Deepika has over a decade a rich experience in handling assignments across risk based internal audits, audit analytics, ERP, remediation, application audits, ITCG, internal financial controls, and enterprise risk management of banks, NBFCs, manufacturing industries, IT, and service sector companies. She is currently associated with CNK and Associate LLP, where she has led significant assignments in forensics, audit risk evaluation, process controls, and system audits. Earlier, she was worked with AJ Morris and Company, specialized in NBFC statutory audits, RBI compliances, incorporations, restructuring, due diligence, and valuation. She is also co-opted member of Digital Accounting and Assurance Committee of SIRC of ICI. She is Secretary of Institute of Internal Auditors, Madras Chapter. She is also a chairman of Women's Committee, Institute of Internal Auditors, Madras Chapter. She is a faculty at SIRC of ICI for Introduction Information Technology Training and Advanced IT Training. She is also a regular guest lecturer at ICAI, IIA, BCAS, SOA, and various universities, delivering sessions on data analysis, forensics, blockchain, audit automation, IS, and IT audits. Her contribution to SIRC newsletters on IT updates have been widely appreciated. With her blend of technical expertise, leadership roles, and thought leadership in audit innovation, she continues to inspire, empower professionals across the country. Now I hand over the session to CA Deepika ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sir Chetan sir,
Yeah,
for the
Deepak,
wonderful.
and 1 minute.
Yes.
For the audience, if you have any queries in the matter, you may put them in chat box. So maybe at the end, maybe 5-10 minutes, Chetan will ask them to Deepika so she can address. So if you
Yes.
have any queries in the point, maybe you can put in chat box.
Yes.
Thank you. Over to you, Deepika.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for the keynote, Chandrasekhar, sir. So now I go into the session. I hope my screen is visible. And today's session can include technology into our internal audit. So when we say I will be covering some of the chat GPT and the LLMs use cases also. Apart from that, generally, what other use cases that we can do with the existing tools and technologies available is what we are going to see. So first 10-15 minutes, I'll be giving a brief introduction on how we can include this in various steps of our internal audit procedure. Then we will go into use cases with current available tools. And last, we'll be seeing through generative AI. So this is going to be the flow of the session. So just a minute. Yes. So whenever you are going to audit, what we need to first understand is no tool is going to give us ready-made output. Like you input data and everything will come out. What fraud they have done will come out. What error is there will come out. That is a myth. Okay, there is not going to be one ready-made tool which is going to do all this activity. What happens is for every industry, the expertise that is required to analyze data and extract audit results, which is going to determine whether it is having material impact on financial reporting or not, is actually coming from the auditor's experience and intelligence. It is impossible for one technology to know all the risks across different industries. Let's say banking, mining, trading, service. There are so many unique industries that are there where we need the expertise of a auditor to be inbuilt into a tool or used for a particular use case and for arriving at the results. So first we need to come over the myth that if AI is going to come, auditors' value will come down. So that is not the case at all. AI, we are going to instruct AI what to do, how to do, and how the outcome should be. And it is going to just help us in reducing the mundane number of hours we spend in reconciling Excel sheets and compiling multiple work papers, etc. So we are just going to make our work easier, not uh, replacing our work. So this is the first key consideration that we should have. To start the audit process, we have to have an open mind. We have to evaluate what new technologies are available, how we can put it use into our audit, which all phase of audit we are going to automate, how and what technology we can inbuilt into our each session. So this awareness is very, very essential. First, we need to know what data, what output, what technology is available, and have an open mindset to look at AI as a collaborator for our audit procedure. So, this is going to be the first mindset that we have to make AI work in IA. So, any machine is only as smart as the data we feed into it. We need to be very clear on what type of instructions we are going to give, what type of parameters we are going to feed in. Like, I will give you an simplest example. Let's say we want to recompute GST calculation. Okay, there are, let's say, 1,000 SKUs or stock items in an organization. Each stock item or stock group is going to have different rate. For each rate, you want to identify whether the rate applied for a particular item is correct or not. How will you handle it? So we need to first have a GST rate card. So what we need to have something like a HSN mapping. We have to map the SKUs available in the organization to map to a particular HSN. We should have a HSN wise rate. Now we need to map the HSN to identify whether they have applied the correct rate or not. Or let's say one level higher, we want to know whether that stock unit is coming under that HSN only. Okay, so now this is a simple exercise only, if you see, but it is a Hercules task if we have to do it manually, because it is going to need someone to read the stock item, identify if it is a HSN, then you have to identify whether that HSN is having one rate, multiple rate, same rate is applied or not. So now what we need to do, sequentially, we have to feed in the instructions on how this should be implemented and what is the order in which the formula should be applied. This can be done as simple as a Excel formula, or we can use little more advanced. Let's say the volume is very high, we can use something like Python or Power BI to structure our analysis. But by default, just by having Power BI, we will not be able to make the reconciliation. We need to instruct or give phrases as formulas for it to work in a particular manner. Okay, so always we need to identify what is the analysis that we are going to do. Let's say our object is going to be identify risks, you want to identify plagiarism, or whatever audit risk that we are evaluating. You increase the capacity. If Excel is not sufficient, look for alternate tools, whether you will be able to do any automation in terms of any scripts that you are writing, whether you'll be able to repeat it for a different client or a different industry. So automation capabilities we need to see, and we need to instruct or build business or audit models to evaluate a particular business. So traditionally, how this has happened is we used to have checklists for each client, how we are going to audit, what type of risks that we are going to take as critical, non-critical, and we train the particular team to do all that analysis. There is team orientation, and the team should understand what we are telling. Then they have to build the Excel sheets with all these formulas to check for all the risks, and then we arrive at the outcome. So here what happens, the auditor's wisdom is converted into some actionables to get a particular result, right? This is the traditional methodology for any analysis. Now, what we call as data modeling, okay? When we say building a model, building a Excel template, building a Power BI template, or building a Python application, whatever it is, the mindset is one level higher. You first want to generalize something for a particular organization or industry or a particular risk. Okay, you have the historical data or the auditor's wisdom. Okay, that is now going to go into an algorithm. That is going to be a series of formulae. It could be in any language. It can be a chat GPT generated formula, it can be a Excel macro, it can be a Power BI file, it can be a Tableau file. There are n number of tools available in the industry. It can be anything or combination of two or more technology. You build the algorithm. So this can be Python plus Excel, it can be R plus Python, anything. Okay. And you build the data model. Data model is nothing but any quantitative technique that you are going to apply. Quantitative technique means you have numbers, you have formulas, and it is going to define a particular output. Then you call it as a data model. So this is nothing but sequential evaluation of a particular data set. So once you formalize and build a data model, what happens is every time you have a new client, new data for that particular activity, you just apply the data model and it will give you results, which is nothing but AI. Okay, so now AI is much hyped after we have this LLMs, large language models, which is giving NLP based results. In a human language, it is able to identify and give interpret results. So AI is not just generative AI. AI is not just data analytics. AI is not just machine learning. It is the overarching umbrella where machine learning is also a part. Okay, NLP is also a part, deep learning is also a part, neural networks is also a part. It is the overarching umbrella which is actually giving us the expected output. So this we need to understand the methodology of how something is done and how it can be automated. So this traditional mindset, how something is done and how it can be automated. How it can be automated, you have to identify common points in each test that you are doing and you make it into a data model and you write a SOP for how you have to handle the data model, and then you start applying the data model. I can give you a simple example to relate to what we are talking about in model building. So we have a client where we have a wallet. So client is into auction business where they collect EMD for the auction, then they execute the auction, and all the unsuccessful bidders, the EMD should be released, and the highest bidders EMD should go to the auctioneer. So this is a wallet system. So they have a escrow account for wallet, then a bank account for receiving the money and dispersing the money. So this is a daily activity that happens in the business. So what we do when we say as a data model is we need to now standardize the data formats that comes from the bank, standardize the reports that come from my ERP, which is the auction portal, then standardize the reports that come from my wallet. So now I have the three data sources. And what is the method or mode of reconciliation which should happen to ensure this is error free? So I need to sequentially mention these uh, test techniques. Once I do that, sorry. So once I do that, I will be able to build the formulas for that. So this formulas, what I have to do is it will not be generic for a particular date. Now I'm going to do a data model. So in a particular day, maybe only 4 scenarios will come into the business evaluation. But let's say from the historical perspective, I know what all I need to check when I'm doing a reconciliation, right? So it may be even 15 or 20 parameters that I need to check for the reconciliation to work. So for all the 20 reconciliations, I may not have the sample data for all the 20. It may be only 4 or 3 or 5 I may be having, but still I will write formulas for all the 20 parameters which I'm going to evaluate. And I make this data model ready. So every day, end of day, what we do is, as the data comes in, new data for the particular day comes in, it is applied into the data model, and any errors, reconciliation problems, or wrong debits, wrong credits, wrong withdrawals, wrong receipts, charges whether calculated correctly or not, GST calculated correctly or not, everything is thrown into as an output. Okay, so this output, for a person who doesn't know the data model, they will say it as predictions. But it need not essentially be predictions. It could be just output predicted based on the model which we have built. So there are predictive models also. So from an audit perspective, if we are able to do deductive models, it is more than enough, because the biggest audit risk is fraud risk, right? We want to ensure the financial statements or data is error free. We want to identify whether any wrong compliance or any rates are applied which is wrong, any receipts which are wrong. We want to identify what is an error or mistake or a fraud, right? So detective analytics or detective data models is more than enough in an audit, but we can build predictive models also. So predictive models now, in this case, though I have 4 scenarios, let's say I have built the thing for 20 scenarios, the data model will predict for all the balance 16 which was not there in the data. That is one thing. Now, based on data pattern identification, decision trees, it can also, we can have a machine learning based model where system will give new outputs. Okay, that is also possible. But now I am not going to teach how the machine learning will happen, how a predictive model we can build. But I will go through the use cases of what predictive models already there which we can use. And we will also see some predictive models on generative AI side, where we can use existing learning models. Okay, but from an basic internal audit perspective, detective models are more than sufficient. If we are able to handle, let's say, some 10 lakh rows per day, it's like very big success, right? Because let's say instead of doing annual audit or half yearly audit or quarterly audit, if you're doing something on a daily basis, it is going to actually reduce your audit risk to a very, very high extent. And this data model for this client, what we have done, no, it takes hardly 10 minutes a day. Okay, where someone loads the new data into a particular folder and the data model automatically works and it gives the output. We are not having automation for sending that mail. So mail should go to some people. They want to see a traditional report in email, seeing what is the exceptions. They don't want to see a dashboard which is there in the browser. So we are sending an email. So 5 minutes for putting the data, 5 minutes for mailing the data. So it hardly takes 10 minutes, but we are having absolute control over what the organization's operations are and what type of problems happen on a day-to-day basis. So this is very, very basic, which I think all of you know. It reduces manual burden. It provides more comprehensive audits. It offers a more strategic insight, not just for the board, for the auditor also. We are also going to use the resource better than every day doing Hercules task of writing formulas, doing reconciliations, doing evaluations, searching how new ways we can do audit. Instead of that, we are going to have a standardized process wherein we are going to use the resources better, increase efficiency, reduce stock, and we are able to increase the value of the work that we are doing. So where all first we need to do the automation. So for that, we need to know the audit methodology. So first we need to have something called as an annual audit plan, where we are evaluating strategy, risk, and process. So this is will be strategy will be more like at the helm of affairs. What is the entity level controls we have, how we are monitoring it, whether we have a proper forecast, business plan, operational plan, all that. Then we will evaluate functional risks and we'll evaluate process gaps. So for that, we'll have a annual audit plan. So in planning stage, we can use audit, automation or AI for our building flow charts, building risk control matrix, building audit programs, audit techniques, okay, and also in to an extent to document evidences, okay. So all these places we can use artificial intelligence. So then execution of audit program here partially. See, we will be having team that will be working on executing the audit program, but 50% of the audit execution, which is data driven or documentation driven, can be automated through artificial intelligence. Okay, and you can compile the audit working papers accordingly. So now this is a slide from Deloitte's paper on how we can use artificial intelligence into internal audit. So first and important and the most useful place is the risk assessment. So whenever I'm going to execute an audit, it may be a process audit or an internal audit, I need to know what are the risks involved. If I don't know what are the risks involved, I will not be in a position to identify the problem. Why? If I don't know something could happen. Okay, let's say I don't know there is a concept called as emergency PO where I immediately take a PO and issue for procuring something on an emergency basis. I will not be checking for whether emergency POs were ratified or not ratified, whether what is the volume that came in, whether it's immaterial, immaterial, those things and all. I will not be going into itself because I don't know the concept of emergency PO, right? So then only if I know that I will go into the risks for emergency PO and then I will be evaluating whether any risk has materialized into vulnerability or threat. Correct, no? So first I should know what it's like. Uh, Police should think like a thief. Only then they will be able to identify the thief, right? Similarly, auditor, I don't know whether it is the right analogy to use, but similarly, we should also know how frauds happen. What has, at least, let's say, we need not know how fraud is executed. We should at least know what all frauds were executed, not in that organization, in general. Okay. So I should know there is something called as procurement kickbacks. Only then I will go and check for whether the products are bought in right price or not. Correct, no? So for that, no knowledge of the fraud techniques or fraudulent things that have happened in the industry is required so that we can ensure that we are safeguarding ourselves from those frauds, and also we will be able to check out whether similar frauds have happened in the organization or not. So now this knowledge, we have to create a knowledge base inside the organization based on all the senior people's experience. But now, with the help of generative AI, we are in a position to build this risk profile. Where if you put a particular process, ask it to give 20 risks, 30 risks, what I need to check for fraud evaluation, what I need to check for control evaluation. Generative AI is able to accumulate all the knowledge base that it has created to give us these insights, which our team can ready-made take and put to use. So risk assessment is a very, very important stage where we can use artificial intelligence. Next is in terms of audit planning, we can use it for automation of text heavy documents. Okay, we can do exploratory data analytics of what if analysis inside, like what if this goes wrong, what if this happens in this industry, what is the probability of this, like more from a brainstorming perspective, we can use AI. Then we can use in the risk assessment part where we can do automation of IA task in terms of analytics, in terms of macros, in terms of using any language model based on Python or R, etc., to ensure that we are able to automate and reduce the time that is required for the audit. So in field work, population testing. So from sample, we have to move from population testing, which will be possible only if we are having analytics included into our audit procedure, and automation of text-based reports, where we are able to do yes. Thanks, Anil. So where we are able to build audit reports and excellent recommendations and remediation plans, where we are able to report, let's say we have an audit committee presentation, to build a storyboard based on what we have identified, how something has happened, how it is being executed, etc. Then we have real-time reporting. This is the next level where we are having our issues and audit tests integrated into the system. I give an example of the e-auction company, which is more of a daily review, but repeated task done through a manual trigger. But that is one level of audit maturity less actually. The best audit method to implement will be a real-time monitoring, where I'm writing APIs to pick data from the bank portal directly, to pick data from the ERP directly, and real-time basis something is happening to reconcile and check whether a particular transaction is going through correctly or not. It's like a continuous monitoring system, CCM. Okay, where we are having real-time reports of any errors that are happening. Okay, so these are all the areas where we can look for AI enablement. So first level of automation or AI usage is on audit analytics. This is most important. This is the easiest to implement, where we are having routine transactions verification, non-routine transaction verification. Data is there. See, if you go to further analytics or other AI usage, data may not be there. We are looking for predictions based on some available data. We are looking for some third-party metrics to evaluate whether this is correct, not correct, how it is implemented, etc. and all. But if you see, for audit, we have data ready-made available in hand. If we are not able to do full population testing, if we are not able to slice and dice every column in the data given to us, then it is like something is already in our hand to identify problems, but we have not used it. Many times, if you see, there will be n number of sales register, purchase register, payroll register given, but we may be using only 3 or 4 columns of the register, and that also on sample basis many times. So if you, I tell this to my team many times, that every column you think of one audit test that you would need to do. If it is date column, let's say it's within audit period, not within audit period. There are 2 date columns. Then post dated, pre-dated. Okay, there is a invoice column, or let's say it's vendor code. Check for duplicate of vendor. Vendor code with vendor name is there. Check whether multiple vendors are having same code, same vendor having multiple code. Now, like this, for every column, if you have one audit test, and every 2 or 3 columns, if you have a comparative audit test, you will be surprised in the minimalist of minimalist thing which you think as low risk will have exceptions. This vendor code, what I'm telling, no, I've identified any client, any data dump you put this, you will get exceptions. Okay, even the date, because in the ERP they will say we have date block. Okay, they will say we have only current date entry can be put. They will show some user account where only current date is put, but we will not have the bandwidth to actually check for every role, every employee access, what is the access level that is implemented, and whether that access level is adequately addressed or not. Whether if at every, let's say at a GM finance level, you have rights only to put data in a particular date, okay, or on the current date. But you don't know CFO access, MD access, There may be a system admin access where they are able to put a backdated entry. It is quite possible and it is happening in every industry. So it is always better that you do a data verification to identify whether such thing has happened than to go and check the controls over a particular user is created with adequate approvals or not. Because at design level, every organization is having some approval, at least an email approval for creation of access and creation of roles. But that is not an adequate proof to tell that has happened throughout the audit period. Okay, so for that parameter, it is very, very essential that whenever a particular data is received, we need to do audit test on every column for at least one parameter. Let's say there is 40 columns, at least 40 to 45 audit tests we have to do on that data. You will be surprised with the audit observations that you are getting. So whether you are able to do all this in Excel is a primitive tool, but it's a very good to start tool. You have Office 365, which has lot of new functionalities which will reduce your work. If you are already using Excel well and not using something called as Excel tables, please explore Excel tables. So it will reduce a lot of your work and it will be basically Excel table is a data set inside the Excel sheet. So it will standardize whatever formula you are putting. It will be able to copy paste. You need not copy paste formula in every row. There is data integrity protected. Okay, it has a lot of advantages. You can explore Excel tables if you are using Excel. So if the client organization you're working with has mostly, when we are doing internal audit, it's a quarterly audit, Excel will be sufficient because for a quarter, if the organization is may generate only few lakh rows maximum. Unless it's a very large organization like Ashok Leyland, L&T, like that, or Southern Railways, or a technology company like Ola, but these people only will be having huge data sets. But others and all, mostly it will be like if you're doing a monthly or quarterly audit, you'll be able to do it in Excel itself. Okay, we can build all the automation in Excel itself. But let's say you want to explore further, you want to build a data model, and the data model should be used on a more put to use in a more effective manner, then you can explore Power BI. It is a very, very simple tool. It's a tool from Microsoft, which is like extended version of Excel, which is more simple to use. It can handle high volume of data. So once you learn, let's say you decide you want to do analytics in Power BI and you sit just for 2 days, go through in Microsoft portal itself, there is a Power BI training sessions, which is around 9 hours. Okay. So if you complete that and do any client, your data, whatever you have, you sit and work with that. You identify what all errors are coming, what all outputs you are expecting. So 2 days, if you work with Power BI, I'm sure you will learn Power BI to a very, very, very comfortable position where you'll be able to uh, use Power BI to generate whatever insights that you are expecting. It's such a simple tool. It may not require more than 2 days, but 2 days concentrated effort is required to identify what is a measure, what is a formula, what is a DAX, how you have to build a visual, what type of grouping is required, what type of slicing and dicing is required. It's a very, very simple tool to learn. And that is the next level. Okay. Like all auditors, if you ask me, if you know Excel and Power BI, 90% of your audit work you can automate. On audit analytics work, you can automate. 90% of your audit analytics work, it will automate. Next level is Python. Okay, we are using Python also for a lot of our concurrent audits where we are dealing with BFSI sector, banks, insurance companies, where they have a huge volume. Let's say 1 month volume, will be 1 crore transactions. So there we need Python servers, etc., where we are processing huge volume of data to do reconciliation and evaluation. So Python is at one level, but to begin with, Excel tables and Power BI is a very, very good to have audit analytics tool. You have integration of Copilot both in Power BI and Excel, which is immensely useful and it is actually helping you to reduce the work that you are doing. So Copilot is a chat GPT, which is given by Microsoft. Okay, it works in ChatGPT. If I'm not wrong, with version 4.1, I'm not sure whether it works with 5. It may, sorry, I'm not updated that. But yeah, it is ChatGPT, you have to go and separately use a chat window, right? Instead of that, Copilot is given as part of the Microsoft suite of packages where you can use the same generative AI. So I'm going to talk here quickly about Power BI. So Power BI will give you, as I told you, large volume of data processing, and also it is not having any upfront cost because it is going to be a product which is single user is free. Desktop version you have, which is you can implement um, directly and start using it. Is my screen visible? Yes. Okay, so it is a desktop version is a free version where you can implement and you can directly start working with it. It has a drag and drop functionality where you can just um, build visuals based on drag and drop. It has a very meaningful reports you can build, but again, it is only a tool. Okay, you cannot expect the tool to directly give outputs. You have to work for getting the outputs. So next is what all you can do, which is AI enabled in Power BI. If you ask a question to Power BI, will Power BI give you answer? Yes, it will. It has natural language processing where in a dashboard, if you are asking a question, if you are typing a question or you are asking a question or through audio, it will give you answers. Then it has a very useful technology which is called as sentiment analysis. That is, let's say you are having a lot of narrations. You cannot read all the narrations. You want to identify particular things in the particular narration, like in terms of whether any fraudulent things are mentioned or parallel books related are mentioned or some adjustment is mentioned. Those type of things and all, you can extract. There's something called as phrase extractor. Then you have image detection, then you have sentiment analysis. So this is very useful when you are going to analyze emails. Okay, the email box of someone you want to analyze. What you can do is you can just import that into Power BI and you can put sentiment analysis. That's an inbuilt model to identify like this. See, you have a great UX. So great means it's a positive. Okay, and there is a new version which is coming, which is slow. So negative. Like this, there is an inbuilt dictionary which is built into the model, which you can use. Okay, it's a AI technique which automatically analyze unstructured text data. Okay, when you say structured data, it's already in table form. You have numbers which you can directly use for calculation. You call it structured data. Unstructured, we'll call text, image, audio, these things and all. We call it as unstructured data. So it is now attaching emotions to unstructured data and giving. It is not just reading unstructured data and processing unstructured data. It is also analyzing and giving emotional intelligence to the unstructured data, and it is giving you output. So this is very useful technique. How simple is it? You first import the data. Okay, after importing directly, if you go to add column, it is having something called as text analytics. It's a direct button. Okay, you have to detect language. This is for sentiment. Key phrase means you can give the key phrase, what all you want to select like that. And you just select from which column text you want to extract data and give OK. It will do the sentiment analysis and it will give. It is as simple as this. Okay, I'm not going to demo for everything because then 2 hours will be like totally not sufficient. So I'm introducing you to different functionalities that are available. You can go through these. Most of these have very good reference materials. Anything you can also reach out to me for support. Simple things on generative AI, I'm planning to show some demo. Others, I'm only taking the use cases for explaining in the session. Okay, and same way like our sentiment analysis, we have MLs also built inside Power BI. You can build classification trees, regression trees. You can forecast sales. You can make a linear regression based forecast on any number column, it can be sales, profits, etc. Next is you have R and Python language integration. So basically, Power BI works with a language called as DAX, which is an expression for writing formulas, very similar to our Excel functions, how we write formula, no? Same like that only. Apart from that, it has integration for R and Python, wherein you can directly execute and bring R or Python libraries and use it for processing data, which you have already connected to in Power BI. Okay, it can also do cloud integration. So if you have any Azure platform, you can integrate to the cloud and then have the ML for machine learning for in integration. Okay, so this is for image analytics. This is for connecting to cloud for data processing. And basically, this is the Power Query window, not Power BI. So Power Query and Power BI are like two components of the same application called Power BI Desktop. So you can explore this. So I was talking about the model building, right? Where you have a historical data, you know what it should be doing, what the data should be doing, and what type of results it should be giving. Then you build a data model. Once you have a data model, you can use it for any new data prediction. So as an auditor for financial statements, there are few data models which are already built. Okay. So if you see from a financial statement point of view, can you identify whether the company is having adequate liquidity? There are some ratios that you can look at, right? And whether that ratios are doing adequate work correctly or not. So for this, there are some predictive models that are built, which we can use in any new financial data. They have built the model with, let's say, some thousand balance sheet analysis. Okay, by analyzing thousand balance sheets, our data model is built for financial statement based predictions. Now, let's say you put 1001 balance sheet it to this data model, it will give you prediction. So this can be a simple thing like a Excel sheet which you can use for building this ratio based models. So I have listed down some models which I had taken from a statistics book on financial statement prediction. Okay, Montier C score is a model which gives whether the company is having any window dressing or not. That is overall balance sheet and PNL, whether it is balanced, whether there is any hole in the balance sheet, that it will evaluate and give. Next, we have Benish M score. This is a model to check whether there is any fraud that they have uh, put, fraud has happened in the company or not. Then we have Olson's O score, which is also a multi-factor score. This is to identify whether the company is having adequate liquidity or it is in financial distress. Okay. Then we have Altman Z score. This is also for identifying whether they have adequate liquidity or not. Then we have Piotrowski's score, which is to identify financial position. So if you see in this, Benish M score is more often used to identify financial statements manipulation. If you see, a lot of the white papers come from the research organization or Big Four. They use this more commonly, and this Petrovsky's F score is also more commonly used in stock market predictions, where to identify the financial position strength, the market cap is adequate or not. For that, lot of mutual fund companies and the stock market investment companies are using these scores. So you would have come across if you have gone through such portals, or you can now keep eye on these scores which are used in many of the research organizations. But it is not restricted to research organizations. As an auditor, we can also use this on even the old balance sheet or the current balance sheet. Okay, where we are identifying knowledge of client business is very important, right? So we know the organization is doing certain things, right? Whether it's right or wrong is secondary. We know something that the organization is doing XYZ. These models will help us to identify whether the organization is doing the same XYZ or not. Because now in current day scenario, what we identify is what the auditor knows of the business is actually reducing, maybe in more tier 2 cities where we have a strong relationship with the business owner and auditor, the things may be different, but I'm not sure. Because what I have seen, I'm from Chennai, I work for a firm in Mumbai. The management of large companies are seeing, with auditors rotation particularly, the management of the organization is seeing auditor more like a vendor. Okay, whether you know X A to Z of the business, it is a question mark. Okay, let's say you know A, B, F, G. Whether those things, whatever we know, whether that is correct or not, is a thing that we need to put to test and ensure that whatever we assume to be true is true or not. So for those things, these type of financial models will actually be of great support and help. So if you see how this score works, it is a 8 index from the financial statement, which includes P&L and balance sheet, and 2 years financial statement comparison, where it will identify whether the company is having any manipulation of books or not from current year, previous year. Okay, basically, if you see this, it is a multilinear regression equation. Okay, so this is coefficient C. Now this will be, if you know formula for multilinear linear regression, this will be x1 b1, sorry, x1 a1. So that is variable 1, coefficient 1. Then x2 b2. You can recall x3 b3, like that. You have, like this, you have 8 index with a coefficient. So linear regression is y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, so dependent variable, independent variable, and coefficient, right, or a constant. So same here for multilinear regression, it is constant plus variable 1, parameter 1, variable 2, parameter 2. Okay, so it will be c coefficient plus x1 a1, x2 b2, x3 b3. So now what they are doing is this variable, the constant, whatever the dependent variable, he has given the coefficient based on the historical data that they have built. So this we have to do. This DSRI or GMI is the index that we need to arrive at based on the financial statement comparison. So if I'm not wrong, this is something days sales in receivable index. This is gross margin index. This is asset quality index. So the formula is there. How do you have to identify asset quality? How you have to identify selling expenses? How you have to identify total assets? So these are the components of the formula. Okay, and the formula is also given in the Benisham score formula. So basically, it's a predictive formula. So you would have thought, where did I use the regression which I studied in max statistics? Why statistics is tested in CA Foundation? So for that, the answer is Benisham score. See, this is a regression equation which is already built. But similar equations we can also build. But whether required for each client, again, all that is depending on how much we are investing in R&D. But as I mentioned, to build a predictive model is more complex, but to use a predictive model is more easy, right? So on that context, we will be in a better position to use existing available predictive models into our analysis to identify whether a particular organization is having adequate financial strength, doing fraud, or is there any accounting, book manipulation, etc. Those things and all we can evaluate. So basically, what the since it is already formalized, it's like theorem. Okay, we have studied theorems and all. No, already theorems would have proved something, and we are just applying the theorem. Very similar to that only. So the result is if the model output, okay, the final answer when you substitute all this, okay, when it is less than, or sorry, greater than minus 2.22, then it predicts that there is higher probability of financial statement manipulation. Okay, and it is visualized below. If you have greater than minus 2.22, then unlikely of profit. This is less than minus 2.22. It is unlikely profit manipulation. If it is greater than minus 2.22, then there is a possible profit manipulation. So similarly, we have different models. For all these models also formulas are available, but I have not gone through everything here because this is not a session on financial risk model. We are talking about internal audit, but just I thought, since we are talking about AI, and AI is nothing but algorithm and data model building, and Bench score is the ideal use case for a predictive regression model. So we have taken this use case. So next is from fraud risk evaluation, what we need to do. Okay, so there are different frauds that we need to evaluate during audit. Why? Because as I mentioned, if we don't evaluate audit for fraud, we will never identify any fraud. So though we say, okay, auditor is not watchdog, auditor is not, auditor is a watchdog, not a blood hunk, all that, when though we say, at the end of the day, if there is a fraud, auditor is made questionable and he goes through all the disciplinary process, etc. Right? So essentially, our audit program should have maximum fraud risk controls and minimum process controls. Why? Process is up to the organization, right? Process excellence is organization CEO's KPI, not auditors KPI. Right, the risk control matrix and evaluating process evaluation, and process gap evaluation, process control evaluation, whatever we do in IFC is actually management's prerogative, not the prerogative of the auditor. Auditor's requirement is going to be fraud risk evaluation to identify in the process, in the function, anything is going to help execute a fraud or is going to leave a fraud undetected. These are the things which auditor is more interested in, right? So you can broadly classify as operational fraud, management fraud, and digital fraud. Okay. So basically, you need to have a fraud risk monitoring tool. First, you need to have the risk rules. So basically, the cornerstone of any audit process is going to be risk that you have identified and what is the data which you are using for evaluating that risk and how you are monitoring the risk. Then how you are categorizing or scoring the risk. Okay, so scoring methodology or evaluation and how you are monitoring that scores. So that is the next part. And whether you are able to build a algorithm or a machine learning index for substituting and identifying this. So this is the way that we have to build a model for identifying and monitoring a fraud on a real-time basis. But currently, to my knowledge, there is no fixed tool to identify or monitor fraud risk. So, from an audit perspective, okay, when I see some of the very simple things that we can do to identify fraud. See, first you have to see that the organization is having ethics survey, organization is having whistleblower system, whether they have a continuous monitoring mechanism. Okay, this fraud data analytics is for the fraud risk profile, whether something you are able to do, you can do. And any response plan they have, and fraud audit techniques is what I'm going to talk now. So these are all things that you have to check whether organization is having. Okay, these are the baseline fraud evaluation process that organization should have. But some handy techniques which I felt as an auditor, what we can do. So first is any vendor or customer where you feel like these names do not correspond to real vendors, or let's say you have done some analysis on vendor master or procurement file or sales file, and you are identifying these customers to have repeated um, orders for different items, or let's say they are having high price variance. We have procured 10 quantity at 100 rupees, then again 10 quantity at 1000 rupees. Now this price variance is something that I need to get explanation, right? Because I cannot have same product purchased at different rates within 1 quarter or 1 year, right? So those places and all, we can apply these techniques, because doing these techniques on the entire population is going to be difficult. So the first, as an internal auditor, we will be doing the techniques on the doing the analytics on full data, and we will be getting some exceptions, right? On that exceptions, we will be applying these fraud evaluation techniques. So first is you can use Google Earth, Google 360 view, where they are replacing the images every 1 year. Okay, apart from places like deep forests and glaciers, etc. Almost all inhabited places are covered in Google Earth image. So sitting in one place, you can go and see any location in any state and see whether the particular building is there, particular company name is there or not. Okay, in that street, that place is there or not. Those things and all we can check. Like for example, we were doing audit for a paint company, a very accredited prominent paint company. And if you see, it is we identified in same location nearly 8 vendors were listed. Okay, and just to use the credit which is given to the vendors, this person has been creating multiple entities. All what one MSME's registration, if you take, you get a proprietorship or partnership. One deed and one MSME is enough for empanelment. Okay, so these people are creating so many entities just to avail the customer credit, which is or dealer credit, which is given by the company. Okay, so like that, there could be different parameters that you could identify why a particular thing is happening. So this and all you can identify in this Google 360 view to identify whether it's one shop, multiple shop, one name, multiple name, whether that business is really existing or not existing. Um, so these things and all are very useful. Google Earth you can put for almost all, even villages are coming. Okay, I had checked even tier 2, tier 3 also. I was successfully able to see Google image for that. Like we were doing some bank inspection, okay, for branch. So we have some rules on SOPs that are built for branch only, like built to see how the branch is established. And it is saying that it should not be near liquor shop, it should not be near a theater. Okay, so now all these things, how we'll audit? We audited through Google Earth. And to my surprise, we identified 4 branches which were opened just in the same building where they have liquor shop. Okay, so whether it is a very required audit observation or not is next. But there was a SOP that should have been followed. Okay, it is not followed. And next, what is happening? That branch is existing for so many years. So next, what is happening? Policy is there, but no one is checking. Why we have to implement it? So design is there, design implementation is not there. It is not possible for auditor to come to every branch and see what location they have chosen, what infrastructure we have, all those things, right? So in these places and all, Google 360 is very useful. Next is mystery shopping. Mystery shopping is nothing but you disguise yourself as a buyer, okay, and try to buy the same product, or you disguise yourself as a customer and try to procure the product from the company and see what is the price that is quoted, what type of service that we are having, whether they are really considering the things that they have put in their policy documents. Okay, those things and all we can do. Now let's say there is a rent which is expended. You can disguise yourself as a person who is searching for property and rent and go to the same building, or write a mail or call the same business or building owner and ask what is the rent for per square feet in this area in your building, and he gives one number. You can see 10% here and there for that number is okay, but let's say he is telling 1x and in books it is 10x that is booked, then that is something that you need to report, right? It could be a related party transaction or a way for taking out money from the books by expensing rent ledger, right? So all this is possible in mystery shopping. So all these audit techniques may require additional effort, okay, and it will also require a sort of uh, targeted customer codes and vendor codes and targeted people that we are going to go and check for these. So as I told you, this is not the first step. First step is my data analytics. First step is my exploratory data analysis, where I check for all the parameters and identify which is the parameters which are having negative effects. And those line items which are having negative effect, only those we'll take for this type of profiling. So next is social media profiling, where you can check a particular vendor's website or Instagram page, LinkedIn page. Let's say you have a vendor to whom we are paying X amount, and that vendor in LinkedIn is having only 2 employees listed. Unless it's a labor contractor or anyone in that first level of service provider, any proper organization, if you see, at least 60 to 70% of the staff will be in LinkedIn. Minimum 60 to 70%. And there it's only a 1 or 2% company, then it is something that you need to red flag. It is a Binami organization through which they have taken the order, and someone else is actually servicing the order, right? So these are all some leads that we can take for identifying frauds and mistakes or whatever errors that come in the normal business operations. Next is, yes, you have MCA portal to give you director master data. You can check the charges which are registered. You have GSTN to see the filing. So recently we had a case where a particular vendor, okay, was claiming GST in his bills. And we identified later that he has not filed return for last 2 years, but charging GST to everyone. And already some 1 year back itself, his GSTN was cancelled by the portal, but he is showing himself to be with the original GST certificate and a GST register vendor. He's collecting the GST and eating the GST for last 2 years. So these tests may seem very, very simple, but when you do it, you will identify exceptions. Okay. Same thing with income tax portal. So shopping visits you can do. Mystery shopping is one. Shopping visits directly you can do. Then you can collect code from the same vendor. You can check prices of machine. So due diligence and all. Many times we need to take an expert to check prices for a particular machine or value of the particular machine, etc. But many times we do not get expert for every type of machinery or every type of instrument that is there in the client or audit organization. So that time this checking prices in India Mart, Alibaba and all comes very handy. Because let's say you are valuing a particular machine based on your cost price. Let's say cost price was 20 lakhs and current book value is 15 lakhs. Sorry, cost price was 15 lakhs, current book value is 5 lakhs. And at the time of due diligence, let's say it's at NRV. Okay, you can check price in India Mart. Sometimes what happens is even price of new machine at same configurations would be lesser than the NRV. You can understand? That is, someone to buy this old machine which is already depreciated 10 lakhs at that rate, there would be a new technology for the same machine, same configurations, for same level of output at lesser price. So then we should not take actually NRV. Maybe as per accounting standard that may be right, but I hope you can understand. Okay. And sometimes no, they'll be showing higher rate. Most of the times actually books will be showing higher rate when we do the assessment. So Alibaba and India Mart is actually going to give you a lot of insights on how you can identify prices of very complex machineries also. Okay, mainly imported machineries from China, Japan, or Europe, etc. So next is cash free. Currently, no cash free and razor pay. All of these people have some KYC problem. Previously, it was allowing to do penny drop. Okay, anyone having a cash free account can do a penny drop to identify whether the bank account number pertains to a particular person or not. Okay, but currently that facility is not available due to some RBI regulations, so I'm not touching on that. Okay, so now we are going to few more use cases. Now we are going to go for use cases using generative AI. So here I'm going to use ChatGPT. We can use Gemini, Perplexity, Llama, anything you can use. Okay, but currently I'm going to use ChatGPT, and ChatGPT I'm using the paid version, which is ChatGPT 5 version 5. Okay, and in the paid version, should the auditor go for the paid version of generative AI tool? Yes, you can go for Copilot or ChatGPT. Either should be fine. But going for a licensed version which is saved in your desktop or computer is much ideal. Okay. So it has additional features where you can upload data. Mainly in the free version, I think the upload is limited to some 2 files or 3 files, and even the size of the file is there. Whether whatever data I'm putting, whether ChatGPT is releasing the data to the entire globe, no, it is not releasing the data. What it will do, it take it into the learning algorithm to do any activity? Yes, it will take it into the learning algorithm. So I'll just show you the prompt engineering. Okay, so it will have a learning data set basis which it is giving the output. No, there it may take, okay, it will take. So what we need to do is we should ensure that we are not putting everything with the respective organization's name, so that we are maintaining confidentiality of the client data. You can mask the data in terms of the organization name or specific PII information, personally identifiable information like bank account details, PAN number, Aadhaar number, those things and all. We can have some masking or removing those columns while uploading any data to ChatGPT. These are all some preventive checks that we can do. So apart from that, uh, using our questions for ChatGPT to work better is not bad actually, because it is going to help us in future by giving more refined results. So if you ask me, when ChatGPT came, I think it was 2022 November, there was so much discussions about how we can use this, how much we can use this tool for our audit practice. So that time, all were showing some use cases of it is writing some essay for school. It is answering this, it is answering that. But I was asking ChatGPT many questions relating to internal audit, because that is my bread and butter, where I'm working on operational risk assessment, which includes process audits and IT audits, right? So when I asked anything related to this operational risk assessment, it was not giving any valuable answer. It was able to give some very primitive answers which were like not useful at all. So I was in the opinion that ChatGPT is not useful for the auditors. But 6 months later, when I started to give prompts, I was able to identify that ChatGPT has learned a lot and it is able to give much better answers than it was giving last 6 months. Okay. So I started like giving disclaimer statements, give some recommendations for some observations. Like that, I started using. So once I started using, I liked it because it is going to actually reduce a lot of your work in terms of writing proposals, writing reports, writing formulae for Excel, writing formulae for Power BI. So I started using it extensively for my work. And now, if you ask me, after 2 years of 2.5 years of using ChatGPT, almost what is in our mind or what is expected for the output, it is able to generate. So now I'm going to just show you some use cases. But before that, let's see. Prompt engineering is something that we need to know if we are going to use a generative AI tool. First thing is, you have to always remember machine is only as good as what you instruct the machine to do. So if you are good in prompt engineering and if you're able to give specific scenario, ask for specific outputs, whatever hallucinations that people are talking about in generative AI, that it is giving wrong case law names, it is giving wrong references, it will not give. If you are a good prompt engineer, it won't give such wrong case study names or wrong references. That will never happen. Like, for example, whenever I prompt for writing a recommendation, or let's say for writing any article, I will always say, give this output with reference links. So that is one prompt that I add to anything that I'm asking ChatGPT for. Let's say I'm asking it to summarize some guidance note for something. I will say, summarize it with the reference link. So it will give, this is told in CA Institute, this is told in Tax Guru, this is coming in some blogs. And I feel on reading this three, this is better. Okay. Like that, You should be a prompt engineer who is able to instruct the machine right for it to work right. But if you're not instructing it right, and if you're giving some random instructions and expecting it to do wonders, it won't do. Okay. So you have to specify the scenario. Okay, what type of scenario that you are working on and what you want the system to do. You have to assign a role. That is, I am doing this as an auditor, I am doing this as a manager, I'm doing this as a managing director. I have to assign role as to what is the expected outcome of the particular scenario, and as in what capacity I want that output. Okay, and you can also give an example on how you want that particular thing to be done. Give any specific formulation, like in the sequence in which you want to do, or the manner in which you want to do, the specific formulation for the particular output you have to give. Okay, and you have to give all this formulation in a very, very clearly constructed sentences. Okay, so these 5 aspects you have to follow if you want to be a good prompt engineer. Okay, so can ChatGPT work on my analytical procedures for audit? Now we were talking about audit analytics, Excel files, Power BI files, etc. Can ChatGPT work on it? Yes. So I'm going to I have built some draft prompts, okay, just for uh, time constraint says I have already written the prompt. So first I'm giving, I am an auditor reviewing accounting entries of a ERP system. So this is the scenario. This is the scenario, reviewing accounting entries of a ERP system. In the attached document, so I'm going to upload a file. Identify backdated entries based on columns, entry date, okay, and posting date. So I am actually defining what columns it should use. Calculate the difference with criteria, entry date not later than 7 days from posting date. Give the report of exceptions as a Excel file download for me. So this is my prompt. And where is my file? I have a sample file that I have created, which has around 30-40 columns, and it also has my entry date column, and my posting date is also there. Okay, some master data I have created. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, I hope my screen is changing to ChatGPT and not in PPT. Okay, I will now upload my file and I'm going to give my prompt. Okay, the paid version of ChatGPT is little slower than the free version, because the paid version is having huge like current data also. It will go to the internet, it will take the current data. So it has a huge volume of data that is going to evaluate. But the free version is having limited data, so it will do fast. So it has given me, this is the total transactions, the entry days and the posting date. So I have received the report. So what it has done, it has taken the same column, it has created a date difference column. So it identified that it should use date difference, and it has identified the difference. Okay. So now in the same file, what I can ask, I'm going to ask my next prompt. Pivot the data based on PO description column and vendor name column. Find the price variance based on, this is little more advanced. So first one was only finding the difference, which is very simple. So next I'm going to give, you have to pivot the data based on something. Okay. Find the price variance based on difference between maximum PO price and the minimum PO unit price. So I'm telling you have to take unit price. Okay, based on PO description column. Why I'm saying PO description column? Let's take the PO register. Okay, so we have the PO register. PO number is there and PO description is there. So number is very difficult for us to see. So identify the difference. So we have asked for PO description column. Okay. So we're telling take PO description column and vendor name column. Okay. And we are asking it to find the price variance. Then I'm saying I don't want output in number, I'm asking create another column with percentage of variance. Okay. And I can also say give only where there is variance. But currently I'm just going to use this, but I can also create it as an exception report where I don't want everything. Only if the variance is greater than 10% you give. That also I can do. Where I have too many windows open. Where is my chat GPT? Okay. So it is asking whether you want to summarize by this things. Yes. Okay. That and all I don't want. Okay. So it has identified. So the actual data is having around 2,800 line items. So in that 367 line items, it has created on the summary file. So it has also named the file. So it has identified. So I asked with name and vendor name. Why? Because I don't want, see, different vendors will have different price. So depending on location, everything import, export price will change. So one vendor, one PO, there should not, like one vendor, one product should not have multiple prices. That was my parameter. So now I can just take what is the variance, largest to smallest. So this is my variance report. So if you see, it matter of seconds, it was able to pivot, analyze data, and give the report in a Excel file. So this is something on the analytics part. This is the first use case. Second use case is going to be where if you want to create a VBA code and run a VBA code also, it will run. But currently, let's take a next use case. Okay, next use case is going to be relating to legal document review. So let's say you have a document or contract agreements that you're going to review for adequacy and you want to evaluate it for any specific non-compliance in specific regulations. So for this, I have taken a SLA with vendor. Okay, so this is a vendor for IT infrastructure services. I have just removed the company name, masked it, and the balance 17 pages are actually the actual SLA clauses masked. So I have the prompt for use case 2. So I'm just going to mention. So this is the attached agreement. I'm reviewing. It is a NBFC deposit accepting company because I need to give what all regulations it should check. So NBFC deposit accepting NBFC. This is a vendor with IT service provider for complaints in line with RBI guidelines on so and so parameter. Can you highlight and give summary of non-compliance as bullet points and give reference to respective RBI circulars. Summary of non-compliance as tabulated bullet points. Okay. So if you're first time doing and you don't know the regulation, then I strongly suggest you read the regulation once before sending to the client. But if you know the regulations already, then you will be able to identify whether this is a requirement of a particular regulation or not based on your existing knowledge itself. So it has given, so it has not tabulated. The some lacuna is there. Every time you put a prompt, it will give different answer. It will be similar, but it will not be same. So you can you can ask it to redo the activity. so that it is a more reportable form. You can give you can ask it to give risk rating, you can ask it to give um, the non-compliance penalties, etc. and all. Okay, so first important part is not there. Data localization. We have to ensure that data is in India, so it is not there. So it is not allowing subcontractors audit. Incident reporting within 6 hours should be there based on certain requirement in India, but it is not having that. So like that, it is defining and listing what all the gaps that are there in the contract. It is quite possible when we do a manual reading of the document for review, we may not identify all these points. We may identify few for sure, but since the algorithm is so defined and so mature that it has the capability to do a more comprehensive job than us, provided we give the right prompts. So that is one thing. Now, next, let's go to the next use case. So next is, can the ChatGPT build a risk control matrix for us? Yes, as I mentioned in the initial class when we started, it is very good in profiling risk and giving n number of risks that can go wrong. It can be a good starting point for any fresher or junior who is assigned the role of writing the risk and control matrix, where we can define uh, what all process risks are there, basis which we can do the process walkthrough for identifying whether controls are there in the organization for these risks or not. Okay, so for that I have a prompt. So can you tabulate and provide a risk control matrix with columns, process, subprocess, COSO reference principle, control objective, risk rating, risk potential, and control to be potential control to be implemented. I'm not asking for control, but what I should look for in the client when I go for audit, I should know what I should look for, right? For I'm telling where I want RCM, it is for the procurement process. For what? For a manufacturing organization, manufacturing auto components. Give at least 15 risk points in this regard. So I can also ask, explain the risk each column in 2 sentences, 3 sentences, because initially it will give you in summary form only. Okay. Can you provide the output file formatted as a table with borders and text wrap? So for this, I'm not uploading any data. I'm just giving the prompt for it to give me risks that are there in procurement process in a manufacturing company. Yeah, we have got our Excel to download. So all the columns I asked, it is given process, sub process, which COSO principle it should align to, what is the control objective, risk rating, okay. What is the potential control I should have? Now the control risk is what? Ensure we have reliable vendors. For that, risk is here, onboarding unapproved, unreliable vendors. So for that, I should have a due diligence process, empanelment process, and approval committee. Okay, then to ensure fair competition, I should have rotation of vendors, audit of review of vendors. Okay, I ensure only approved materials are requested. So it's starting from vendor empanelment. It is going to PR, then PO. Okay, then purchase. Then it is going to QC. If you see, it is actually following a very meticulously ordered functional processes. Okay, and it is also formatted and all the important columns are there. And now with this, I can actually identify what is the ideal control should be there, and basis which I will do a functional walkthrough with the client and rewrite the controls that are required. Controls I cannot use as such because it should be specific for a particular organization, but I can surely use this as a starting point to understand what I should ask and what I should document. So building a risk control matrix is like, for each process is like minimum 10 working day work, right? So in that, if you have the base already built like this within 5 minutes, next it's only 3 or 4 days where I need to sit with client, document the controls, do the evidence testing part, and document the testing part, which is actually the more knowledge oriented work, instead of actually documenting the risk and controls, which can be done with the help of AI. So next use case which I'm going to provide is going to be relating to stock taking. Can ChatGPT help me for stock taking? Sir was mentioning how remotely we can do stock audits, how drone technology is used. I had a use case where for auditing quarries and mines to identify how much of sand is taken out, or how much of gravel is taken out, how much of coal is taken out in a mine. There are analytics based on picture, where a drone is used to take the picture, and based on the picture we are able to identify what is the depth and uh, height, width and depth of the holes, basis which we are able to identify the total volume of material excavated from a particular location, to identify whether that is the actual item or quantity excavated or not. So like that, there are so much of technology which is available to do stock taking. There, like people like Amazon, etc., and all have so robust stock taking mechanism to evaluate and monitor stock. So here, what I'm going to show you is little different. I'm having a picture of wood logs. Okay. Now let's say I need to count number of wood logs here, or I need to see the volume of wood logs here. I can take a tentative baseline test through AI tool. So there are different stock taking tools itself available, where you can upload images, or you can take photo and then try to identify the volume, etc. and all. So I'm asking ChatGPT whether it can do it. So I have written a prompt here. As I mentioned, prompt is very, very important. We need to have a very, very meticulously written prompt which has all the 5 parameters, so that ChatGPT knows what it is expected to do. Okay. Please count them. I'm asking itself approximately, because each, see how I'm giving is please count the number of circular timbers. So I need to give definition of how to identify what is a stock item. Okay, circular timber logs in this picture. And since it is having overlapping stock, I'm asking for approximate. So it is giving me 163 circular things are available. So non-circular it would have identified. Okay. And it's asking whether you want me to highlight these things in the image for you to verify this is correct or not. One more thing is there. The warehouse is having approximate 1,000 square feet of inventory of rice stacked up to 50 feet height. How many tons of rice is there in the warehouse? So this is something that generally we are not testing, but it is a very important parameter to test, because a lot of times when we read the fraud case studies, mainly the bank frauds where the accounts have gone NPA, we have given OD or loans based on stock availability, the capacity of stock entered by bank is actually more than the warehouse capacity of the company. Okay, so warehouse capacity is something that auditors should mandatorily audit, depending on the volume of stock and the value of stock and the type of stock category that the warehouse is holding. For sure, we need to audit this parameter. So, though it is a simple max on identifying the total volume, mostly it is done based on tonnage, etc. But still, for a particular type of stock category, we need to evaluate wow, this stock we need to mention, or stock capacity we need to review. So based on this, oh, it is also telling stacking 50 feet of rice is generally not practical or safe. Okay. But this was a scenario which I checked for a class sake only. So it is telling based on the theoretical mass, it will be 800 to 1000 tonnage. But to have a usable space factor, that is, if you are removing aisles, you need a place, right, to go in between to pick the stock, etc. and all. So the capacity will be 60 to 80% utilization, which is 600 to 800 tons. So 600 to 800 means you can have a variance of, let's say, 500 to 900 also. Okay. But what if we are going to give 1500 tons stock? Many times it happens that the stock capacity itself is less, but we are declaring more stock in books, mainly for this loans, OD, etc. and all. So this is also something that I thought we can take it as a use case for using ChatGPT. Okay, so these were the use cases which I thought we can discuss today on ChatGPT. One more thing is there on how we can use Copilot. So Copilot, I am not having in this laptop. Okay, but Copilot is also very similar to ChatGPT. But what advantage Copilot has more than ChatGPT is it will directly integrate to your Microsoft Office. So let's say you are having a SharePoint or OneDrive for storing your data, and let's say you are using Excel, Word, etc. It comes as a menu inside the file itself. Okay, and you will be able to use Copilot inside Word while using Word. Inside Excel to do any activity, you can directly use Copilot. And let's say you have SharePoint or OneDrive for managing data, then Copilot will work on your data itself. Let's say you are asking, pick a report which has this particular risk given as an audit observation. Okay, in your file server, if you type this question based on your storage, your client files, it will be able to go fetch the file and give the data with a prediction of where you want to use, how you want to modify, how you want to reapply this. So that level of application is available. So let's say this is your SharePoint for your data storage. Your Copilot comes like this. It is a menu which is directly coming into your SharePoint file, SharePoint site itself. So this is giving you what you want to ask. Do you want to summarize this folder? Do you want key points for launch plan? Okay, because this is relating to some launch, I think. So it is asking me, do you want to list the contracts? So if you can directly ask the questions inside your SharePoint folder. Okay, it's like your database. Let's say you have a local drive, and in that drive, instead of going folder by folder and searching for files or searching for client names, you have a chat window where it will do the work for you. So that work is possible with Copilot. So the Copilot is little costlier than ChatGPT, if I'm not wrong, but it will give you this added advantage of being as part of the Microsoft suite of products. So Copilot is also another very useful tool when used along with all these file servers and document management systems. Okay. So these were the things which I had to discuss today. So I think I had covered the areas which I wanted to discuss. I'd be happy to take questions if any. Yes.
Thank you, madam, for such a thoughtful, provoking, and insightful session.
Thank you. Thank you.
We now open for the floor on a short question and answer sessions. There are around 20 questions being asked by the participants. I would take one by one.
Yes, sir.
First question is that what are the courses students or CA should learn for the current AI world?
So, CA Institute has a AI certification course, which is very useful course you can take up. Apart from that, to have these type of knowledge, you cannot wait for someone to form a syllabus and then take a course and certification on that. So you can keep updating yourself, watching YouTube videos. There is a Udemy platform, Coursera platform, which has lot of small use cases and small courses. It's only 3 hours, 4 hours. So those type of courses you can prefer to understand each use case of a particular tool and technology.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. One more question is that you had given a live example of stock taking now. Someone had been asked that how can you explain or give examples of AI tools which can be used specifically for stock audit?
Yes. So actually, I'm not having the names out of mind, but there is drone technology, like Sir Chandrasekhan sir also mentioned, and there is tools where you can take image. It comes with the device where you can take the device, you can take picture, and it will give you the output. So such tools are available. You can just explore a little bit in Google. There are a lot of paid tools also. There are free tools also. So you can consider both for stock taking.
One more question is being asked whether Colab is being used as an alternative for Python.
I am not very uh, I don't know that, sir. I
Okay.
have not used OLAP. I've used Python independently. So OLAP is also having its own advantages, but whether it replaces, I'm not sure because I'm not used OLAP in length.
One more question, which is in my mind also. How
Yes.
can we ensure that data quality of in AI driven auditing is being 100% uh,
How data quality, sir?
quality?
Can you repeat data quality in?
Data quality in AI driven auditing is being 100% accurate.
So as I
Output of the data
Okay,
quality.
okay. Yes. So you should have checks and balances when you are doing. Initially, there will be lot of errors. As I mentioned, it is a learning process for the algorithm also and for us also. So initially, we have to have checks and balances to ensure that it is um, evaluating correctly or not. And surely, whatever output you're getting from any AI tool should not go directly into your data report or audit report, etc. It is the first step where you are using it for evaluation and your internal assessment. So, next step is you have to assess whether the exceptions thrown is correct or not. After that, you need to frame the audit report and then you have to sign the report. You cannot surely take directly from any AI tool and use. You need to have the learning time. So as I told you, now 2 years I'm using ChatGPT. Now I'm very confident on what it will do right.
Okay.
But that confidence should come based on what type of questions you are asking, or what type of profile you have created inside your ChatGPT. So those things also matter.
Depends on the prompting you want to say.
Yeah, depends on the prompting and the profile you create. Like now, let's say you are using ChatGPT for last 6 months. You can ask ChatGPT, give me my profile. It will
Okay.
give your profile, what you are doing, what all you are good at, what all you are bad at. Because you are using that login, right? That login is having repository of your learning. So it's
Correct.
like a custom GPT. So it again depends. So same use cases, if you put in your system, you may get different answers. That's what I'm trying to
One
tell.
more question is being asked
Mm.
whether Chat GPT's outcome can be used as an audit evidence. Say like that 183 circles are being there.
Yes. It cannot be used as audit evidence. Whatever audit evidence you are putting into your work product, okay, you cannot say it is AI generated and you can say. So CA Institute is not going to accept that, or no regulator is going to accept that. So it is your work product. You cannot say AI generated like in Instagram post. Now it's coming, no AI generated.
Correct.
Um,
Right, ma'am. Very insightful session. Now we will move towards the vote of thanks on behalf of Internal Audit and Standard Boards of ICAI. I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to our prominent speaker, CA Deepika ji, for sharing such a valuable insights on AI-driven internal auditing and guiding us on how technology can reshape the future of internal audit. I also thanks Chairman Sri Chitre sir, Vice Chairman in absentia, and the entire internal audit standard boards team for this leadership and support in organizing the insight enlightening sessions. Finally, sincerely thanks to all the participants for your active presence, enthusiasm towards new learning in the phase of AI. With this, I formally conclude with the permission of chair that today's session is over. Jai Hind, Jai ICI. Thank you.